Surah 69. Al-Haqqah. Context. Period of revelation. This too is one of the earliest surahs to be revealed at Mecca. Its subject matter shows that it was sent down at the time when opposition to the Prophet had started, but had not yet become tyrannical. Musnad Ahmed contains a hadith from Umar, saying,
"Before embracing Islam, one day I came out of my house with a view to causing trouble to the Holy Prophet, but he had entered the Masjid al-Haram before me. When I arrived, I found that he was reciting Surah al-Haqqah in the prayer. I stood behind him and listened. As he recited the Quran, I wondered at its literary charm and beauty. Then suddenly, an idea came to my mind that he must be a poet, as the Quraysh alleged. Just at that moment, he recited the words, 'This is the word of an honorable messenger, it is not the word of a poet.' I said to myself, then, he must be a soothsayer, if not a poet. Thereupon he recited the words, 'Nor is it the word of a soothsayer, little it is that you reflect. It is a revelation from the Lord and Sustainer of the worlds.' On hearing this, Islam entered deep into my heart."
This hadith of Umar shows that this surah had been sent down long before his acceptance of Islam, for even after this event he did not believe for a long time, and he continued to be influenced in favor of Islam by different incidents from time to time, till at last in the house of his own sister, he came by the experience that made him surrender and submit to the faith completely. The theme and subject matter of this surah. The first section, verses 1 to 37, is about the hereafter, and the second verses, 38 to 52, about the Quran's being a revelation from God and the Prophet being a true messenger of God. The first section opens with the assertion that the coming of the resurrection and the occurrence of the hereafter is a truth which has to take place inevitably. Then in verses 4 to 12, it has been stated that the communities that denied the hereafter in the past became worthy of God's punishment. In verses 13 to 17, the occurrence of resurrection has been depicted. In verses 18 to 37, the real objective for which God has destined a second life for mankind after the present worldly life. In it, we are told that on that day, all men shall appear in the court of their Lord, where no secret of theirs shall remain hidden. Each man's record will be placed in his hand. Those who had spent lives in the world, with the realization that one day they would have to render an account of their deeds before their Lord, and who had worked righteously in the world, and provided beforehand for their well-being in the hereafter, will rejoice when they see that they have been acquitted and blessed with the eternal bliss of paradise. On the contrary, those who neither recognize the rights of God, nor discharge the rights of men, will have no one to save them from the punishment of God, and they will be cast into hell. In the second section, verses 38 to 52, the disbelievers of Mecca have been addressed and told,
"You think this Quran is the word of a poet or soothsayer, whereas it is a revelation sent down by God, which is being presented by the noble messengers. The messenger by himself had no power to increase or decrease a word in it. If he forges something of his own composition into it, we will cut off his neck vein or heart vein. For this is the truth, absolute and pure, and those who give it a lie will have ultimately to regret and repent."
Surah 69. Al-Haqqah. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. The inevitable reality. What is the inevitable reality? And what can make you know what is the inevitable reality? Thamud and Ad denied the striking calamity, the resurrection. So as for Thamud, they were destroyed by the overpowering blast. And as for Ad, they were destroyed by a screaming, violent wind, which He, God, imposed upon them for 7 nights and 8 days in succession, so you would see the people therein fallen as if they were hollow trunks of palm trees. Then, do you see of them any remains? And there came Pharaoh, and those before him, and the overturned cities with sin. And they disobeyed the messenger of their Lord, So he seized them, with the seizure exceeding in severity. Indeed, when the water overflowed, we carried you, your ancestors, in the sailing ship, that we might make it for you a reminder, and that a conscious ear would be conscious of it. Then when the horn is blown with one blast, and the earth and the mountains are lifted, and leveled with one blow, stroke, then on that day, the occurrence, resurrection, will occur, and the heaven will split open. For that day it is infirm, and the angels are at its edges. And there will bear the throne of your Lord, above them. That day, 8 of them, that day, you will be exhibited for judgment. Not hidden among you, is anything concealed. So as for he, who is given his record in his right hand, he will say, Here, read my record. Indeed I was certain that I would be meeting my account. So he will be in a pleasant life, in an elevated garden, its fruit to be picked, hanging near. They will be told, Eat and drink in satisfaction, for what you put forth in the days past. But as for he, who is given his record in his left hand, he will say, Oh, I wish I had not been given my record, and had not known what is my account. I wish it, my death, had been the decisive one. My wealth has not availed me. Gone from me is my authority. God will say, Seize him and shackle him. Then into hellfire drive him. Then into a chain whose length is 70 cubits, insert him. Indeed he did not use to believe in God, the Most Great, nor did he encourage the feeding of the poor. So there is not for him here this day, any devoted friend, nor any food except from the discharge of wounds, none will eat it, except the sinners. So I swear by what you see, and what you do not see, that indeed it, the Quran, is the word of a noble messenger. And it is not the word of a poet, little do you believe. Nor the word of a soothsayer, little do you remember. It is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. And if he Muhammad, had made up about us some false sayings, we would have seized him by the right hand. Then we would have cut from him, the aorta, and there is no one of you, who could prevent us from him. And indeed it, the Quran, is a reminder for the righteous. And indeed we know that among you are deniers. And indeed it will be a cause of regret, upon the disbelievers. And indeed it is the truth, of certainty. So exalt the name of your Lord, the Most Great.